Well, welcome back to Urban Hustle. Yes, we are talking about the top chefs of our country and their culinary journeys. Right now we have on our show Manu Chandra. He has worked with Olive Restaurants with A.D. Singh, who is the restaurateur par excellence. Of course, he has had a number of ventures to his name, besides working for years together now in the business. Let's take a look at this AV and then we talk to Manu.
From fretting over the right usage of a knife to making sure nori sheets are wrapped the right way, perfection seems to be Chef Manu Chandra's middle name, the man behind popular restaurant chains such as Olive Bar and Kitchen, Monkey Bar, The Fatty Bao and Toast and Tonic. Chandra's conversations are direct and impactful, just like his style of food. And what is his comfort food, you ask? Butter chicken khichdi from Monkey Bar. It trumps everything, whether you're drunk, about to drink or hungover. It always hits the right spot.
Welcome to our show, Manu. Thanks for coming to us and talking to us about your entire culinary experience. Tell us from the start, how did this journey of being a chef start for you?
I guess I always wanted to do it. How and when I get to that point wasn't really something that was decided. So I went ahead and I studied history and economics as a degree, because I think I was planning to become a chef at a point where there was still a little bit of resistance in families to allow children to get into the hospitality field. And I mean, they were open to the idea, but I think they were insistent on the fact that one gets an education of some kind first, so there's a fallback plan, because like I said, it was still some time before it became popular like it is today. And so I did that, and I said, now that I've done it, I'm headed out and I'm going to study a culinary degree, and I went and did that, and then there's been no looking back. I've been cooking since.
So back in the day, in the 80s, I suppose, when you must have actually gone ahead and studied culinary arts, how has the market trend changed ever since you started? You think there's a very difference in the kind of food that was provided, that was presented to us back then vis-a-vis now?
Well, you know, the trajectory of a chef can easily be equated with the way the country has grown, the cities have grown, and we can see that what's happened in the last 15-20 years has been, you know, an exponential boom in the cities, the markets, the restaurant scenes, the number of people traveling abroad, the wealth that's been generated. People are more exposed to foods from around the world. You're not only catering to a very small segment that you were earlier. So that boom and explosion also obviously brings tremendous growth in the sort of restaurants that you see and hotels that you see, and restaurants and hotels that you see, of course, who were always, you know, one of the first people before the restaurant boom took off. It was always hotels who really paved the way for creating great F&B establishments. And all of us have just sort of fit into that puzzle, and so it's symbiotic, and you know, happy to be part of it.
You're right. You have in fact taken this journey along with the restaurant business that has grown exponentially now. What do you think? How do you feel? How do you keep the authenticity of the food that you prepare when compared to experimentation?
Well, you know, if I were to speak candidly, which I'm guessing I'm supposed to, experimentation in food is as old as food itself. So trying to say that because something is experimental, it's not authentic is actually a misnomer. If we did not experiment with food, we would never come up with new recipes. If there wasn't trade across the seas, and if the new world hadn't been discovered, Indian food would have been without potatoes and tomatoes, right? Or peppers, or whatever it is that you see today in our food, or chilies actually. Chilies were an ornamental plant that the Portuguese introduced to Goa, and then, of course, all your food has chilies. So what do we call authentic and what is experimental is in itself a blurred line. But where I do draw a line is when people try a little too hard to try to make food something that it's not. And that doesn't necessarily upset me, but it does make me scratch my head and wonder whether they're trying to sell food for food's sake or are they trying to sell food for their own sake. And while there should be an expression of the person cooking the food present on the plate, I think there's a line that needs to be drawn there somewhere. But I'm already being called old-fashioned, so you can go and figure what the future holds. But I take great sense of solace in knowing that I think the world is coming full circle, and now a lot of the younger chefs are talking about age-old techniques and focusing on fermentation and growing their own vegetables and talking about permaculture and farm to fork, and so we are somehow going back exactly where we started.
Well, thank you so much, Manu, for sharing with us your thoughtful insight into the food business, into the culinary business. Well, with that, we come to the end of this special episode of Abin Hasil. Continue watching. Stay tuned on NewsX. Thanks.